1,000 better
1,000
stories.
better stories.
1,000 better stories.
1,000 better stories.
You're listening to 1,000 Better Stories, the Scottish Communities Climate Action Network's podcast sharing stories of community-led climate action in Scotland to help us all imagine the better and fairer future and transform what we think is possible. Welcome to our Everyday Changemakers series. We blethers with everyday people taking climate action in their communities.
Hello, I'm Madeleine Scobie and I'm Scan's media intern. I interviewed Ruth McLaren, who is the Project and Communications Development Officer at Arran EcoSavvy. Since 2014, Arran EcoSavvy has been working towards making Arran a greener and more sustainable island. Some other recent projects include the Green Islands Net Zero, the Active Travel Hub, Community Shop and Zero Waste Cafe. I asked her to describe her favourite place to visit in Arran.
Oh, that's a bit of a tricky question, actually, because there's so many amazing places. I'd have to say my favourite place is Glensannock. It's in the north of the island, and it's just this absolutely beautiful kind of dramatic glen, not too far from where I stay, and it's kind of really peaceful. You'll go from the beach, which will maybe have lots of people on it, and if you go up into the glen, it's kind of empty and don't see as many folk around, but you'll see, deer, and I've seen a golden eagle in there once, and it's just absolutely beautiful.
So how did you get involved in community action? What's your climate journey?
I've always been very kind of interested and aware of climate change ever since I was at school, really. And it's just always been something that I've been very passionate about, but also very worried about. And my career, I've worked in the government, I've worked in the private sector, and I've also worked for several charities. But I really wanted to get involved in climate action. And when I moved to Arran, I found out about Arran EcoSavvy, which is a local organisation. At the time, they were looking for a shop manager for their charity shop, Pre-Loved Goods shop. I applied for that job. I didn't get it, but then I subsequently applied for another job that they had advertised, and I've worked for EcoSavvy for almost 5 years now, working across several different projects. So yeah, I feel really lucky to have been involved to such a degree within the community and within such an impactful organisation within a community that is interested in climate change matters.
So what's the biggest challenge that your community group or you had to overcome in taking action, and what do you think you learned from it?
I would say that the biggest challenge just in general with both the community and the issue of climate change in general, it's just such an overwhelming topic. It's something that it affects all parts of life. It's not just about, the environment and you can be an environmental activist. It also connects with people's lives in terms of the economy and their finances, social issues and social justice, lots of local issues, land use. It really does connect with so many other issues, that it's not just about, climate change or the environment. And I think that that's really the crux of the issue with the kind of slowness of change on these higher levels, is that it's just people become so overwhelmed with talking about it, and it can be quite a negative thing also, it's quite scary. And that's not always easy conversations to have with folk, and it's also not an easy thing for people to kind of think about. And that's why at EcoSavvy, I think we kind of try to focus a lot of the time on the small things that people can do, but also acknowledging that it's not just about individual change, it's about the wider community level changes, but also government levels, and just acknowledging that it's something that intersects in all parts of everybody's life.
What's something that you're most proud of?
I'm really proud of the work that the organisation does in terms of just seeing the everyday impact that it has. So, for example, we were at an event at the high school in Arran a few weekends ago, and we had our e-bike trials going on so people could come along and try an e-bike, which are always super popular. But we also had some kiddies' bikes that have been donated. So somebody wasn't using these bikes anymore, just handed them in to us. And the mechanics had done them up and made sure they were roadworthy. And then this wee girl came along and she couldn't ride a bike, but she really wanted to be able to ride a bike. So our e-bike guy just spent 10 minutes with her and showed her how to ride a bike. And then she could ride a bike and she was allowed to just take that bike home. So, things like that on a community level that can have such a big impact for those individuals. And then a long lasting, who knows what she might do, once she's learned to ride a bike, that could make such a big change for her. So these kinds of things, and it's the same with the food work that we do and the little pop-up cafes that we have. And within the shop, whenever you go in the shop, there's people coming in for a chat, people coming in to try eco products, to donate stuff because they don't want to see these things wasted. So really, yeah, I think the thing I'm proudest about the most is really kind of integrating into the community and the work that's been done there.
Who or what inspires you?
So I think climate activists really, really inspire me. Nobody wants to be doing that stuff. Nobody wants to be taping themselves to bridges and gluing themselves to roads and things like that. Particularly the youth activists really, really inspire me because I just feel like, why should they have to think about these things? It's so unfair. It makes me quite bitter that they're having to think about these things, and not just think about these things, but having to spend their time, acting on these issues that shouldn't be a problem for them. But having said that, it's so inspiring that they care so much and that they're really the ones leading the charge to kind of address the climate emergency. And yeah, I find that super inspiring.
What do you think is the most powerful thing that the Arran community can do right now to help create a better and fairer future for all?
I would say coming together. The Arran community does generally come together really well, but coming together and just kind of doing more of what they're doing already, and acknowledging that small actions can have a big impact. So, there's the stuff that we're doing with EcoSavvy with active travel and, and sustainable food, but it's kind of, people can do whatever they're good at. So if you're good at gardening, go along to your community garden and volunteer there. If you're passionate about the sea, there's an amazing marine conservation organisation here, so you can get involved with beach cleans or, volunteer at the visitor centre at Coast. There's really so much on Arran that folk can do. And I think that people on Arran have a really special relationship with the place and the land and the landscape, being an island that we are, because, we have all these issues with the ferries and things like that, but also it is a very amazing geographical place to be because you're on an island, and when the weather's bad, you feel the weather and, you feel the impact of the seasons, and you notice your environment a lot more than you perhaps might if you were living in the city. And I think that people in Arran are very aware of that and really passionate about, preserving that and taking care of the environment and taking care of Arran and, all these things. And I think that that's really powerful.
When I say Green Islands Net Zero, what's the first thing that pops into your mind?
Well, we have a Green Islands Net Zero project. It has lots of levels to it. So on the biggest level, it aims to map emissions of Arran to get an understanding of where our emissions can be improved. And then on a smaller level than that, it's also about, making people's homes more efficient so that they are warmer and their bills are less, especially during this cost of living crisis. I think everybody's certainly feeling the pain and the pressure of increased energy bills. So I get that net zero can be a bit of a jargon term for folk and can be a bit off-putting, but really on a basic level, it's about reducing waste and trying to make things more efficient so that, yes, it's good for the environment, but it's also good for your pocket and that you save money in the process.
What do you think is the most useful resource in terms of community climate action that you would point people to?
I'm going to kind of cheat and say two. I think the best resource that you can have is having conversations with folk and learning about what's happening, having conversations about your opinions and what people that your friends and family have heard and their thoughts. But also I'm a massive fan of the internet and, doing your own research, being on social media, just kind of being aware of what's happening around the climate change movement, because the mainstream media does report on it, but I think that there's a lot to be learned from smaller news outlets and blog posts and community organisations that are on the ground dealing or trying to deal with the climate emergency, who might have a lot more kind of progressive opinions and ideas, and also have had experience and successes that are relevant to you wherever you are.
What is your most treasured possession?
Well, I wouldn't really say it's a possession, but my most treasured things would be my memories. So I would say all my life, basically, I've taken lots of photos ever since I was very young. So I would say all my photos that were physical photos that I have in photo albums, but then also now the ones that I have that are digital pictures, I must have tens of thousands of them stored. So yeah, they would definitely be my most treasured possession.
So if you could imagine Arran 10 or 30 years from now, and imagine that we've all done everything possible to limit the effects of climate change, and now Arran is a fairer and better place to be, could you close your eyes and share one memory from that future with us?
The dream for Arran would be the community all living peacefully and happily together, but having much better kind of local processes. So, we're able to grow our own food here. We're able to produce all the food that we need, or the majority of the food that we need here. Amazing transport systems where you don't need to have a car. Better off-road systems where we've got, the possibility of cycle lanes to link up villages. Just being much more resilient as well, and being able to function much more as a community with all the resources that we need as much as possible on our island. I think that would be pretty ideal, and preserving the natural beauty of the island and keeping the air clean and the beaches litter free and plastic free. All these fantastic things that we will have in 10 years' time.
Thank you for speaking to me about Arran EcoSavvy and also your own climate journey.
Thank you for having me.
Check out Arran EcoSavvy's website to learn more about their different projects and the great work they're doing to create a planet-friendly future for their island home. They've just published some short videos about their Zero Waste Cafe, Active Travel Hub and Community Shop, which are worth a look. The links for these are in the show notes. This is a little teaser for the upcoming Arran audio tour that we are hoping to put together as part of Everyday Changemakers. We will be recording some more interviews with other people from Arran EcoSavvy soon, so watch this space for more.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like and share it with others. It'll really help us reach a wider audience. If something exciting is happening in your own community, be sure to let us know so that we can help you tell your own story. You can drop our story weavers a line at stories@scan.scot. It's scan, SCCAN, .scot, SCOT. We also offer training and mini grant support to community storytellers. To keep up to date with our offerings and everything Scan, check out our website at scan.scot or find us on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram, or simply sign up to the newsletter.